We're going to talk about NAB Show,
2024.
NAB Show 2024. Before we get into that, got to do a little housekeeping. Some people have been asking what happened to the channel.
Oh, that's right. Yes, the rebranding.
I just changed the name. That's all.
You've evaporated. I don't know.
This channel is
Disappeared.
so old. I want to say I started this in 2015, maybe something. No, it's older than that. That's when I put an emphasis on it. I think this channel might be as old as like 2009. It might be. Yeah.
Was this your first channel?
Yeah, it's like my
Like your OG
yes.
YouTube channel? Okay, cool.
Yes. But now it's Tographer. We'll see if it sticks. I don't know. Maybe I'll change it again. But just thought that we've been doing this more often because I've been trying to find that right balance. I absolutely hate, I love the people who do it, but I hate putting so much effort into content that's like blink and you miss it kind of thing.
Yeah.
And there's so many people on YouTube, talented filmmakers who are using their skills and expertise to review lights, to review cameras. No shade, that's all fine and dandy. I've done it too. And you try really hard and you put a video out there and it gets 5,000 views, 100 views.
Is that because it's like oversaturation of content like
Yeah.
that? Because
And I
every
think-
new camera release, like you have like the big hitters,
Yep.
right? All the same kind of people, all the same videos.
And
essentially.
and there is a huge never-ending list of people like that goes like down to like 1,000 subscribers, like people you've never heard of, but you'll get recommended, and they're super talented. They're great, but I hate the idea of using that much effort on something that's kind of just this self-fulfilling. Hey, look how cool this gear is. Look at it can make you make YouTube videos. I don't know. It's just a lot of effort goes to waste, and I think all that effort should go to client projects, to content projects that are storytelling, whatever it is, short film, long form, documentary. Doesn't really matter. But it just seems so silly to spend so much time and effort on a video that is just, here's the B&H specs.
Right. It's like a new camera drops and that camera is used only to make that YouTube video as opposed to using that camera for like an actual real project.
Yes.
And then show me that project.
Right.
And then talk about it.
Which is very difficult because if you're filming a project or you're photographing and you're doing a shoot, you don't often have time to create the YouTube side of things. So there's this double-edged sword. It's the duality of it. And there's a lot of people who spend time at home making cinematic YouTube videos. And we'll probably do something like that, but maybe a little bit different. But at least have something that's more of just conversational, really easy to produce. Talk about half the time we're talking about this stuff, whether we record it or not. I'm sure we'd talk about NAB whether we record it or not, but it's, hey, let's go hit record and share those thoughts and opinions and include people in the comments if they have their feedback as well.
Well, before we get to NAB, I do think it's interesting. There was that article that came out about Cisco teaching essentially its employees how to become influencers because the trend has changed. I know 10 years ago or more, people used to be worried about what you were going to post on Facebook, social media, because they would say, you got to watch out, like you're not going to get hired. But now it's completely flipped where the businesses want you to post about where you work because it's all about just getting the name out there. And I think it's interesting that now, like you're talking about, like using a camera only to make a YouTube video when before, or I guess maybe sometimes now, a client doesn't necessarily want you to release content that you're making for them because who knows, it could be an upcoming thing that they don't want, early release, whatever. But that relationship can also be kind of leveraged because it's also extra content that maybe you are using for yourself, but it's also promoting that business as well. So it's also a conversation that you could have with whoever you're doing a project with as like even an add-on.
Leveraging that relationship and saying, hey, I can do this and add on the YouTube, Instagram, TikTok side of things, as well as kind of this cross-promotion type of thing. You can get the behind the scenes, but also point to the real thing that you actually did, and you're not just stuck making up stuff of like I've done in the past. Okay, I guess I'll film the trees in my backyard because what else am I going to shoot?
Yeah, and it depends what kind of BTS you're doing. I know you can make like shorter stories that are probably more in line with what the company would actually want to share. They're probably not going to share your complete breakdown of, what kind of camera and lights you're using. But if it's like a quick like recap video of, hey, I was on this shoot today. This is what was going on, kind of thing. I know clients really love the BTS because it's not only cool. Obviously, it is cool when you have the lights and cameras all set up, but also the business. It's that like notoriety of like, oh yeah, check it out. Like, yeah, we have a film crew here today, right? So it's a little of both. But I just thought it was interesting seeing that like Cisco article talking about how, oh yeah, talk about our business. I'm like, yeah, why not, right?
Yeah, and on quite a few client shoots that I imagine most people are doing, there's a kind of a plateau you reach where you're the one doing the work. Mm-hmm. And so to bring another person there to film you doing the work it can sometimes be cost prohibitive.
It can be definitely awkward as well because yes, like having someone focus on you while you're focusing on the client project.
Right, and that would not apply on a Hollywood production or something where there's 10 or 20 people, because what's one more person? It's not that big of a deal. Mm-hmm. But there's that kind of breaking point, that middle zone where you get big enough to where you want to kind of show off your work and get all the benefits of social media, but then you're sitting there wondering, like, how am I going to afford to pay someone to be here to film me? And what's that going to feel like when it's just me and this other person and this other person?
Yeah, and to point back to one of your videos, like, how do I film myself? So there are plenty of ways on how you can film yourself. You can set up a camera in the corner. You can put a camera on you. You can rig a camera to your camera, like a much smaller camera. But obviously best results is having another camera operator, because then at least you get that like dynamic camera movement.
Yeah.
But I really enjoy having a PA that also knows how to operate a camera, if not only a cell phone, getting content. Because yeah, like I said, clients like always take a photo. Like you can, like, especially when the clapperboard comes out, the slate, everyone's like,
whoa, it's real.
Yeah, it's
real production now.
It's like, definitely get a photo of me. So
can I get a picture with my name on the slate?
Right. Like there's always these times where you can leverage content for yourself while doing real production.
Yeah, hopefully at NAB this year there'll be some even further advances. I think content creation is still such a new business. It's been around for a while in terms of people doing it, but the influencer business, the content creator business, I feel like we're kind of probably in a bubble or headed towards one. Certainly there's a lot of people doing it, trying to make money on the internet, but those industries, even if it's a bubble and it pops, it grows, it dissolves, whatever, it doesn't go away completely. And I think the more I look at cameras and equipment, the things that succeed to me and what stand out are the ones that cater to, yes, photographers, cinematographers, but also content creator, the giant banner of just the person who does a little bit of everything. And hopefully this year we see some cool stuff at NAB, because last year we went and was a little underwhelming. I've got good hopes and feelings about this year.
Yeah, I mean, who's to say what actually will be there, right? I hope
we are right now. That's what we're doing. We're just making up what we think will be there. Hopes. Cross your fingers.
No, yeah. I mean, I'm hoping to be surprised. Like if we get to go this year, who knows? But I'm sure
you signed up for the. You got the.
I signed up, but who knows? Because every now and then there's a shoot that pops up. Then I'm like, can't make it this year.
It's not a priority, but if it's easy and convenient, because we're in Phoenix, NAB Show, at least one of them, there's a few of them, but one of them is in Las Vegas, the main one. Yeah. Easy drive up, about 4 hours. There's almost always a way to get the free exhibits pass. Someone will send out the code. I think it was actually in the email this year from NAB Show. Yeah. They were like, hey, use this code for the free exhibits.
Yeah, there's really no excuse.
Just sign up just in case. Yeah. So I don't know if we're going to go or not. It's not confirmed. If work comes up, then of course there's that. But
yeah, I enjoy going. Obviously there are like it's a cool atmosphere to be around, and then like talking about like the normal people who do like the top videos for video production, every now and then you'll see people walking around, like Caleb Pike will be around.
You recognize
Curtis
some familiar faces that people say hi. Yeah, it's definitely easier to get the news when you're not there, because you can just scroll on.
Yeah, immediately popping up. Yeah. Well, it's
the announcements, but being there is kind of fun.
Yeah. I mean, walking around seeing how like the Blackmagic booth usually is huge, right? It has multiple setups. They have their cameras that you can test, obviously. And I know they recently came out with their studio camera. So I'm sure that's like their new mini studio camera. So I'm sure that's going to be something that a lot of people are going to be geeking out over. But I'm more interested to see what like the AI side. I wonder if Adobe's going to be giving presentations, hopefully on editing workflows with AI, because that's something we talk about quite often, is having like an assistant editor essentially. And now that they have their like transcription and your ability to cut out pauses, like that makes making selects so much easier now. But I am interested to see if they have any like new announcements, especially in like the, like I said, like the editing workflow, because the quicker I can get that, taken care of, because that's obviously like the longest portion, right? Post-production.
You could spend a day filming 5 hours, 10 hours of content, and then that's weeks of post-production. So yeah, in my mind, the most effective beyond, resolution, dynamic range, production, okay, whatever, make it convenient, autofocus, fine. Post-production is where there is currently so much cost savings just ripe to be harvested. I try and check maybe once a month to see what's the newest AI editing out there, and there's still not anything good. There's plenty of people who say they do it.
Right.
Yeah, we do it, and it's more or less what Adobe does. Oh, we cut out the pauses, we cut out the ums. Yeah. No, I want someone to be able to take all my footage locally. I don't want to have to upload it to the cloud,
right?
Because some of these projects are 500 gigabytes. It doesn't take forever. It should be in Adobe. Now, the thing I'll say about Adobe and NAB is that they often show off things that are still 6 months, 12 months out. Yeah. And I always hate that because they're like, big news!
Eventually.
When do I get this? You have to wait for this one.
Yeah.
So it is kind of nice to know, but in the back of my mind, that's what I'm thinking. This stuff is coming. The AI editing will be here one day. The someone who just can give you a quick assembly, and you click a button, it just scans all the text, all the B-roll, and it knows. AI is capable of doing that. Someone just needs to put the pieces together. And is it going to be Adobe or a startup that Adobe buys one day?
I don't know.
Probably that.
I do. So let's say like your iPhone has the ability to just like you type in the search in your Photos app, and then it recognizes vehicles, it recognizes text, it recognizes a lot of things, which I would love to see in Adobe, for instance. It would be nice just to type in, if you do a certain shoot, like I'm looking for this kind of thing. So you don't necessarily have to tag or bin or, organize your files in a certain way. It can hopefully, ideally do it for you.
See, I wanted to take one step further where if I say the word sunflower, it can read that word and automatically grab the shot of the sunflower and put it right there for me, because what else? You're not going to show a picture of a dog. You're not going to show a picture of a house. If I say the sunflowers are beautiful.
Right.
Show me the beautiful sunflowers.
Exactly, yeah.
Editing, and that's the thing I find so often about editing, is that it's pretty straightforward. It's I don't want to say it's easy, but there's a lot of that base work, the 90%, just to get it kind of all built.
Yeah.
That is just tedious and takes time, but it's not hard.
No.
Now the polish, the finesse, the finalization, the human element of the art and the craft, yes, is still necessary. But just to get it going.
Yeah.
You could just keyword and tag all day long.
And especially, like I said, pulling selects. It's for an interview, it's one thing to, have that transcription and take out the pauses, and then that's easy. The more difficult part is like for B-roll, for instance, like going through like a long clip, let's say, and figuring out the portions that are steady enough to be used. But that's all subjective. That's things that, it's like my style of filmmaking, I guess. It's like, this is how I would want that shot to be presented. But there are other filmmakers who might do like whip pans and everything, and maybe that's what they want. So I can only imagine how difficult it actually is to create an AI that is like, pick the best shots, but the best shots for me probably are going to be different from the best shots ideally for you, or what you want to be able to use them for.
Which theoretically that could all be done with training, because that's the beauty of AI. You're not programming it to look or do a certain thing. You're training it on humans. So if you feed it, hey, this is this person's style. Fincher or Nolan or Tarantino, or who, pick your favorite. Oh, that's kind of what this looks like and feels like, and the pacing, and it could learn and know and do all that. And if you fed it similar footage, it should be able to recreate it. And it will happen. I'm convinced that people are working on this right now as we speak.
I don't know.
Who's going to be the first one to actually put the viable product out there that goes beyond just we reformat, we resize. Okay, cool. That's not AI editing.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I'm looking forward to the day, but like I said, hopefully NAB has something in line, because that's ideally what I would want.
Yeah.
More than anything.
I think TikTok has what's CapCut. Is that TikTok's app? But I really need it to be in Adobe or DaVinci Resolve.
You're going to switch over.
Something where I have the manual controls to refine it later.
Right.
We've joked and talked about these people who show their editing process for Instagram Reels
goodness,
or
yes.
Instagram Stories or TikToks, and they pull up, they'll scale like a period or a question mark. They'll scale it up and they'll and they'll stitch all this stuff together in the platform.
Yep.
Instead of using Photoshop. And
Right.
it's kind of funny to watch the evolution of software and technology, because you would think, oh, graphic design, you do that in Photoshop or Illustrator or Canva.
I mean, it takes me
And people
back.
are doing it on their phones.
Oh yeah, it takes me back because I remember doing that stuff in like Windows Movie Maker, right? And like pulling off those types of things, in Microsoft Paint and shit, So I'm like, all right, I can kind of see where these people are coming from, because yeah, like I remember my first beer kind of thing. Like,
You
yeah,
use the tools that you
remember
have,
I remember getting into this. And I've seen other things where people are, editing videos for TikTok, but using multiple different apps in order to do just like, okay, I want to like cut this person out. I'm going to use this completely different green screen app to do that, and then copy it, and then kind of save that over here, but then also open this
All
app
on their
and
phone,
drag it
all
in,
disorganized.
which is impressive.
Yeah.
But at the same time, those people don't know that there's a whole professional workflow as well that is actually easier
Once you learn it.
Right. And I can't, like, you bring it up a lot, like After Effects is so much easier to use than Photoshop.
Absolutely.
Right. So it's very interesting. And you're working with vectors, which is even better. So it is interesting how, like, you can get, caught up in one kind of way to do something, so in After Effects, but then wanting it to be in Premiere, because ideally you want it in one program.
All in one, that'd be ideal.
Right. But you're kind of forced to send things to Audition, send things to Photoshop, send things, So it's, like I said, it would be nice to have more in Premiere, like even Lightroom, like the editing in Lightroom just for color. Like I kind of want that in, Premiere, just masking, things like that. Things that like DaVinci Resolve has, like very advanced masking, but will we see it in Premiere? Who knows?
Who knows? Although I feel like this year with NAB, I have high hopes and I'm feeling good vibes, because I do think it's about time to get some good camera news. It's about time for the kind of bigger refreshes that happened, 2020, 2021, whenever that was, when Canon finally went mirrorless, and Nikon and Sony had some really strong things. The A7S III finally came out, but that's getting a little old now. Same with the R5, all these things. Lumix could do with a refresh on their, the S5 Mark II is doing really well, but the S1 has been around for a while, and that's due for a refresh. We have Blackmagic, keeps trickling things out, but it kind of feels a little stale to me a little bit. Like, another pocket cinema camera.
Right.
Oh, okay. And the Ursa, for as much as I love that camera, a little too big, a little too bulky.
It's huge.
Yeah.
What do you mean? A little too big? It's
the Ursa Mini.
That's what I was going to say. Surprisingly, yes, it is mini compared to the original Ursa.
Yeah.
But it is still a gigantic camera.
There's some things that, for me, I know you're a big fan of global shutter, and that's what you want to see more of. I think the industry is definitely headed that direction. That's not a deal breaker for me, one way or the other, but there are certain things like internal stabilization that if a camera doesn't have it, a lot of the Blackmagic cameras don't.
Right.
I don't think any of them have
But would
internal.
you use it?
What do you mean?
So, like I know I guess Lumix, the G9 Mark II has like advanced stabilization, but then it crops and crops. Like there's the standard.
I'm
and
talking
then
about
there's
just
the high.
standard IBIS, in-body image stabilization. I
But
always
do you
have it on.
care if it crops your image? Like, would you rather have like the true 4K and then shoot on a gimbal?
No.
Because I would rather never use a gimbal, and I don't
never wanna
think
use a
anyone
gimbal.
Care like as much as people talk about how much they care about. Oh yeah, it's true 4K. Are you gonna tell if it's cropped in like 5%? I don't think so. Like no one's really gonna know.
So no gimbals for me, but I also don't want the situation, because it is true, if you don't have IBIS, if you have no stabilization, you need to be more stable, which means the camera needs to or ought to be heavier. A heavier camera is going to be more stable. So I like a small, lightweight camera, and therefore it needs some kind of IBIS. So IBIS is a deal breaker for me. Got to have that. 4K 60, 10-bit 422, decent size sensor. The internal NDs, that's becoming my kind of deal breaker. I don't think I'm ready for my next camera unless it has internal electronic NDs.
Electronic ND.
Yeah.
Not like physical. Like
No.
Okay, yeah.
There's no room.
Right.
You can't put actual filters in there, and I don't want them. I want electronic ND built in.
Yeah. How many stops of ND do you need?
Whatever the rating is. Typically, outdoor for me is a 64 ND, which it's funny. I was just filming with that HVX 200 for that kind of joke video for April 1st.
Spoilers.
Well, this will come out after that.
Oh, no spoiler.
It's reverse it's Tenet spoilers.
Yeah.
Built-in NDs. If you got the space, do the filters. That's fine. That's how the URSAs are. Very helpful. Very great. And it's funny that we've come far enough because when the URSAs came out back then, a cinema camera doesn't have ND filters built in because a cinema camera has a matte box.
That is true.
This was the whatever the ether the internet says. That's not a cinema camera if it's got ND filters.
True.
You know how many people now realize how valuable internal ND filters are?
Yeah,
like, why would I want a matte box? Why would I want extra glass and stuff I have to keep track of and keep clean? No, put it in the camera.
Yeah, and I don't know, have you used those kind of NDs? Like the FX6 has really nice like internal ND system.
Right, and that's what I need that in a camera for my next thing, but in a small handheld photography style. Because for as much as people want the box cameras, I'm not a fan. I guess if you are going to rig it out and you want to put a bunch of stuff on it, it doesn't really matter, and you want a little cube. But I like holding the camera, and photographers figured this out. Like ago. way back, they had the big box, and it was the sorry,
splash zone.
They realized, if you put a grip on it, you can hold it in one hand, you can take nice photos, and guess what? The same principles apply to video. Yeah. So that's my dream.
Yeah, I feel like we keep marrying these like photography items, into videography. Like my most recent obsession is umbrellas, using umbrella for my lighting modifiers because Bowens mount modifiers are just too big now, and I like the space savings, and you can get, the softest light using these photography modifiers. And I don't know, I as much as I like using NDs, the ND set that I have just skews my color like too much. Like obviously the stronger ND you have, you're
talking about your fixed NDs or your variable?
My fixed NDs.
Okay.
But even obviously, variable NDs can have issues, especially like with your X pattern that everyone always sees.
And just polarizing the sky in general.
True.
Most of the time when you're using ND filters, you're probably outside. Well, the sky is there, and you see how just this giant black hole in the sky.
Right.
Oh, what's wrong with what happened that day?
Exactly.
Oh, I used a variable ND. So when people ask if I'm talking about variable NDs, no, I'm fixed NDs, but with the electronic ones, you don't have those issues.
No.
So.
Yeah, and like the electronic ND, I feel like that's what people were going for when we were talking about like cinema glass and how it has the declicked aperture. It's like, so when you go from a light to dark, you can adjust it on the fly. It's like no one would ever do that because that would be ridiculous. But with an electronic ND, that's the perfect thing to go from inside to outside seamlessly.
Gosh, that brings me back. Was it years ago we went to Cinegear? Do you remember? And they had the, I forget which company made it. It might have been Zacuto, maybe? It was the pane of glass, and there was something where they controlled exposure and aperture, you could keep, or it was an electronic ND combined with the aperture, so you could keep the same exposure but change your depth of field.
Yeah,
I don't think this ever caught on.
No, absolutely not. It was cool.
It's a solution without a problem.
Trick. Like that was like, anyways, like that was cool for that one.
Gosh, was that Cinegear 2018?
Could have been, Cinegear.
I
think we only went once to Cinegear.
I think so.
Yeah, super sweet. We were on like Paramount backlot.
It's a cool thing, yeah.
Yeah, cool. Just to be there is cool.
But yeah, that brings me back to that. Change your depth of field without changing your exposure. And I'm thinking, how many times am I going to want to do that? And how much does this thing cost $100? Sure. Yeah. Add it to the kit. Oh, wait, this is a thousands of dollars investment and all this stuff. Yeah, not worth it. put the NDs in the camera. That'll be good. And I think beyond that, it's all the other and just normal stuff that, you know, the autofocus now that everyone's really good at.
Yep.
To varying degrees, I think Sony's still probably the best.
Mm-hmm. I would actually love to see, and I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, I think Atomos, I don't know if they have like transmitter receiver situations in their monitors, but it would be nice to see that functionality, being able to like
wireless,
let's say, transmit
HDMI
wireless within the actual like monitor itself.
That would be cool.
But
their CEO came back just recently, earlier this year. Yeah, I forget his name, but he had left the company, I want to say in 2020, and then just earlier this year they announced that he's back in charge.
Sweet.
Which we commented on. Yes, so we commented last year at NAB how the Atomos booth was so quiet.
Yeah.
And we're sitting there thinking, like, what's
Atomos
going on?
used to be cool.
It used to be so rowdy.
Yeah.
And I don't know. We'll see. I don't know what these changes look like from the top down, if they'll come out with something cool. But I really do like that idea of more wireless solutions, less cables, and it all being built in. I don't want adapters and things to plug in. And
I mean, I still do it from time to time, and a lot of it is more like courtesy, you know, monitors.
What's the one you use? Is it a Teradek or what's the brand?
No, that one's Hollyland.
Hollyland, okay.
Yeah, which it's an older version. They have updated over the years and have like really sleek designs now for their stuff. But it's just one of those companies that started humble beginnings, it seems like, you know, and then now they've gotten to a point where their products are really professional, like grade, like at least. Like the build seems to be more professional as opposed in the past, which the versions I have were like, I don't know, like maybe 5 years or so old now, and very like not flimsy, but like the antennas, like you wouldn't want to get them caught in anything because they'll just snap right off. So it's kind of like if just take care of it and it'll work perfectly, but you just got to watch out. So
yeah, with the new changes to HDMI and USB-C and I feel like we're still inching ever closer to you plug the thing in and that gives you video and audio and power all in one plug.
Yep.
I hate any kind of adapters or things you have to plug in because not only do you have to plug in HDMI, but you have to run power to it.
Right.
If you look in this room behind the scenes, there's countless wires all plugging things in. Yeah. And a lot of
I love it.
That's fine in studio work when you have a controlled environment and you can kind of set it and forget it. But when it's run and gun or you're on a set and you're trying to build stuff quickly, plug this thing in, plug it. Oh, where's power? Okay, I need to run an extension cord. Going back to the HVX 200, that was kind of funny because those batteries are so old. I had to run direct power and grabbing the extension cord. The less of that, the better.
Yes.
The beauty of, again, the hybrid content creator photography mindset is you just have a camera. There's nothing hanging off of it. There's nothing
ideally
dangling or plugged in. You can plug more stuff in if you want to, but it's at its best, I think, when it's just the camera, the lens, the memory card, and the battery, and that's it.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think it's like you have to spend a certain time with your gear to like perfect it. And what I've noticed is a lot of people don't even spend the time to make their custom menus like ideal for just shooting what you're doing. But I don't know. Do you do that ever? Like custom menu?
I actually just did this yesterday and 2 days ago because I was playing around with that high resolution mode and I just wanted to separate. And one of the problems I have on the Lumix cameras is that the photo picture profile is always the same as the video picture profile. Yes. Video, we're shooting vlog all the time. Problem with that is you don't usually want vlog JPEGs. And there's a weird bug or glitch where if you shoot vlog photos, the raw photos come in real dark. I don't know if you experienced this or not, but yeah. So on the Lumix cameras, I started, it's a pain to have to manage that picture profile, just switching between video and photo. So I got the bright idea, well, I might as well make a custom mode for photo and have a more neutral standard portrait color profile. So when I go to C1, okay, now my color is a Rec 709 color space kind of thing. Looks good. JPEGs look good. The raw ones should be, not that like you're not baking in the look, but you're at least starting from a better spot.
Right.
If you do the vlog raw stuff, it's fine, but you're adding like 2 exposure and you're sitting there going, did I shoot this underexposed? What did I do?
Interesting.
And it's a weird, I don't know why it works that way, but it does. And then I can switch back to video mode and get back to vlog and all my normal film settings. The one thing I don't like about doing the custom profile is that it saves everything. So even really weird stuff like your white balance or your, I don't know. There have been times where you go to the custom mode to be quick and then you still have to change stuff.
Yes. Yeah,
and then
all the time.
and then if you switch out of it, it doesn't update itself. It always goes back to how it was. So let's say you go to custom mode, change your white balance. Okay, go back to video mode. Okay, go back to custom mode. It's going to go back to the original white balance, and you have to set it again.
Right. Yeah.
And then if you don't want to do that, you just have to remember to save the custom mode every time. So there's like, it's almost perfect. And there's cases where it would work really, really well. And then there's other times where it can really trip you up and mess up your flow.
Yeah.
Because you think, I already set my white balance. Why do I have to do this again? Well, you didn't save it.
Yeah.
Oh, I got to save it twice. I got to save it 3 times. Every time I change it. Okay.
Yeah. And it's really funny, like showing up on a set for like as a camera operator where they're like, oh yeah, you don't need to bring your gear. It's fine. And then you show up and you're like, all right, it's going to take me 30 minutes to set up this camera the way I shoot. All right, let's get to it. I've even thought about just bringing my own SD card and like plugging it in real quick and like having my preset. But I only bring that up because with the recent firmware update for the A7S III, it wipes everything. So I was like, all right, I should probably like save a preset in order to make sure everything kind of stays how I like it. But
yeah, there's a few cameras that have the programmable buttons, right? Where basically I think the Sonys tend to do this, where it's C1. Are the buttons called C1s, C2, C3, custom? And they're just buttons on the camera.
So, yeah.
They don't have any label. And you just have to know, and depending on if you like C1 or C2 to be something, and I like it a different way, you get in that problem where you're trying to share equipment with someone else real quick, and it's like a foreign object. You don't know how to use it.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times someone's like, here, take a photo, and I'm like, what? Oh, no. It's like, okay, hold on now.
And then you look like an unprofessional.
Right.
Because how do I change my white balance?
Yeah, I'm trying
you
to
know how to
like
change your white balance?
Yeah, I'm trying to decipher, what they did to this camera, or they never even set it up, to begin with, and it's all just like, random, like original, settings.
Yeah, there are some cameras where the buttons aren't even labeled. I think Leica tends to do that. And if you're a solo shooter and you want complete control and you can customize everything, great, go for it. But I tend to like more dedicated buttons just for the, I don't know, the shareability of it. You can give it to someone and they know what the button does versus going, well, what did you do? How am I supposed to know? Oh, I got to read a menu just to figure out how to use this thing?
That's the funny thing. Like the FX6, for instance, for the longest time, nobody read the menu, I guess, or the manual. And when it comes to like just rewinding a clip, like, of course, you have to hit the thumbnail button and everything, but you need the top handle in order to, like, do what you want it to do. But no one would guess that, So it's like, all right, I guess there's certain features that, I don't know, maybe you just learn on set from other people who, like, have figured it out. But there's always something like that where you're just, like, your mind's blown. You're like, oh, yeah, it's
you
that
can
easy.
do it, yeah. You just have to know the trick.
Yeah.
My son did that to me when I was on, pulled up a YouTube video of my wedding. So it was my 10-year wedding anniversary, same day as your birthday. Happy birthday.
Right. Yeah,
and
happy anniversary.
Finally, after 10 years, the first year after getting married, I cut the highlight video.
Nice.
It was 10 minutes. Just the best parts of the wedding. And my wife...
It's a massive highlight reel, man. That's
10
awesome.
minutes? That's
not sweet.
Oh, yeah, it's like, that's good, right? Yeah.
I guess I'm used to like a sizzle is like a minute.
No.
60 seconds.
This is substance,
Yeah.
okay? But my wife says, well, where's all of it? I said, what do you mean all of it? I got you the best parts. She said, no, but I want to see all of it.
Didn't you see the part where I said I do?
That's it. That's what I need.
The best part right there.
So I drag my feet because, as working professionals, there's always the personal projects that just take, we just take longer.
Yeah. I don't want to admit it, but yeah, it's like the family photos definitely get put on the back burner. So
okay. Well, my back burner ended up being 10 years, but I actually do recommend it because it's a far enough distance away. It's a big milestone, but it's also been so long. Everyone looks different. It's actually fresh memories again because if you're a year or two out from something and it's kind of painful to watch it again, like a wedding. But 10 years later, you go, oh,
Fond.
I cherish these moments.
Yeah.
So I put it all together. Why am I telling this story? Because my son, I'm on YouTube, and one part of it was like the dancing part, which is just dancing. Mm-hmm. I'm like, we can fast forward through this. And I hit fast forward and nothing happens. And I look at the remote and it glitched, it's whatever. So I hit play and then I hit fast forward again. It just stops. It pauses. And I'm looking at this thing like, why is it not working? And my son, who is 8, you got to hit it again, Dad. So I hit fast forward again. And it's like a skip function. So instead of fast forwarding, where on Netflix, you hit fast forward, it goes bzzz.
So it's like 10 seconds.
On YouTube, on the TV app, on my Roku, it's a tap to skip function. So I'm sitting there tap, 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 which is fine. And it's intuitive once you understand it.
Right.
But at first glance, I'm sitting there like, this is broken. Because every other app, fast forwards like a VHS did back in the day. Going, scrubbing through.
Or you press it and then you get the one arrow out of 3 and you press it again, that's 2.
Yes.
3, 4.
That's on Netflix, that's on Hulu, that's on Amazon. They all work, not YouTube on my TV. Maybe it's a setting you can change, but by default, it's just one of those things you just got to know. It doesn't tell you. What I like about the Lumix cameras, the entire menu, pretty intuitive, but if you don't know what a certain thing is, there's the display button you can hit, and it'll tell you more information about that item, which is super helpful, I think.
Even in the menu. Like in the menu. Like you're talking about just in general, like hitting it.
No, I'm saying in the menu.
Yes.
And you're on it, and we go, what is red eye removal? If that's even in there, it might be. You hit, and it says removes the redness from eyes. Yeah. Oh. There's other ones though that don't make sense.
Yeah.
Synchro scan. If you don't know what that is, people go, what's synchro scan? You hit display, it'll tell you.
Yeah. No, that's nice. I don't know. Lumix cameras have the best menus. It makes the most sense of a complex with many items menu. It is probably the easiest to understand opposed to Sony. One
thing I don't like about the Lumix menus is that they change if you're in photo mode or video mode.
Yeah. You'll lose features.
Which is not super intuitive.
No. Well, that's probably like the first thing I kind of noticed just in general, right? It's like picking the file format, like MP4, MOV, things like, I don't think anyone would intuitively know that you would get more, I don't know, like codecs or anything by switching like anything. But when you do, you unlock features, things like that. So I'd almost rather have things grayed out as opposed to just not being there at all. Because at least if it's grayed out, you're like, okay, I know this feature exists.
How do I unlock
instead of it just not being there, right?
Yeah. So that's the one quirk about them. But I think my favorite menu system is still the Blackmagic ones. Mm-hmm. Those are my favorite.
Yeah.
Because it's built for a touchscreen, which is so smart. Every other one is built like the old menus where it's kind of lists.
Yes. Yeah.
Even if it looks a little bit more graphical, it's essentially a list of things. You don't have buttons really.
Yeah. I think, what was it, Constant Preview was something that I had to find on the Lumix recently, which, if people don't know what Constant Preview is, it's like I don't know, like back in the day with mirror box cameras, right? You'd be able to look into the viewfinder, down through the mirror box, through the lens. So everything you would look at, it would look like it's perfectly
because you were literally looking at real life.
You're literally looking at it.
You're not looking at a screen.
Mm-hmm. But nowadays, with, mirrorless cameras, you're looking into the viewfinder at a tiny little LCD screen. So it wants to give you like not a constant preview. It wants to give you what, it would look like if you were looking through a mirror box. But you have to turn that feature off in order to get, an accurate representation of what you actually, when you press the shutter, what it would actually look like.
Which is so funny to me it's built that way by default, because I've always intuitively thought the opposite. Even when I learned DSLRs, you look through the viewfinder and you see real life and you take a photo and it's black.
Yeah.
And you go, what the heck?
Yeah, you'd have to look at the little caret on the bottom with the exposure meter, basically.
And you learn how to use it and you understand, okay, here's the benefits. But that's very different from the point and shoots where you'd hold it up and the LCD would show you what the picture was going to look like. Right. And so anyone who's just getting into photography, starting to learn these things, you come
from your phone.
You come from your phone,
right?
You take a picture, like that's what it looks like.
Yeah, it's like, yep, that's what I want. Got it.
Got it.
Nailed it.
And then they give you the more pro features that's like, well, it doesn't look the same. and you're going, why? It doesn't make sense. You have to relearn it. Yeah. And then to go back to where, no, I want to see the screen as it's going to be recorded.
Right.
Because I don't really know why I wouldn't.
I know why you would. And that's like, let's say product photography, portrait photography. Photography with strobes is why you would want it if you don't have a modeling light. If you have a modeling light, then yes, you can turn that off. But there is that scenario you would be in where, you're dialing your exposure in, but because let's say you don't have a constant light source, it is a good feature to have on the camera, but I don't think it should be default.
Yes. What segment of the market is doing strobe photography? And those are the people that know the menu settings to turn on for their specific use case. Because for as powerful as LED lights have become, we were just talking about this earlier today, actually, continuous light sources now they're not as good as strobes, but they're good enough, and they offer a comfort and an atmosphere that is not strobe photography. Yeah. Strobes still have value, but the continuous light sources there are reasons why you might want to pick them, as opposed to, 10 years ago, our lights were super hot. Yes. They were really heavy. They weren't even that bright. And no, I'd rather go for a speed light or a strobe.
Yeah. Yeah. And nowadays they have, like I said, modeling lights, which the lamp, I suppose you'd say, modeling lamp within the light itself. So like there's a little LED chip in there as well as your actual bulb. But yeah, it's just, I don't know, nuance. Eventually, I'm sure maybe they'll have better default settings. I don't know. But we constantly talk about if people who actually build cameras, like, are they aware of the issues or the wants and needs, like, realistically of content creators? Or are they, I don't know, thinking higher? Like, they're like, oh no, like, real professionals would want it this way. Versus the majority of content creator. Because that's what it is now. It's like, I don't know, everyone's a content creator, right? It's like everyone's a photographer now.
Yeah, I think what happens is these systems are designed by engineers who consult with professionals, and they build the features the way they do, and some of them come out right and some of them come out a little wrong or half-baked or whatever. And then the professionals learn all the ins and outs. They learn the quirks. They learn the camera. They know what PP7 on a Sony means. And then it just
PP8, man. It's PP8.
Is that PP8?
Yeah, S-Log3.
Then call it S-Log3. Don't call it PP8.
Well, what's funny is that you can go to PP8 and then change it. You're like, I don't want S-Log3. But it's default. Everyone knows that's default.
Yeah. No, call it S-Log3 if that's what it lit. PP8. That's the one you got to go to. So it gets built this way. Everyone embraces it. They accept it. It is what it is. And then one person comes along and says, wouldn't it make more sense if we did it this way? And everyone is like, you're crazy.
Get out.
Get out of here. What are you doing? And oftentimes that's how I feel. And I try not to apply my own mentality and paint with a broad brush and say, well, everyone should do it this way. But there are certain things that just work well. And then what it usually takes is a company like a Blackmagic or kind of like a little offshoot startup side thing that does it different, and people then latch onto it and realize, oh, that's really cool. I like that it does that.
And I wonder if it's just like a new startup company thing where you actually have that ability to be so nimble and to change direction and, I don't know, change like, oh yeah, we're going to do it this way now instead of like a legacy company. So I'm interested, we were talking about like Nikon and Red. It's like, I wonder whose side they're going to take, the innovative side of Red or like the corporate old Nikon structure. So I'm interested if they're going to be cool now.
I think they're hungry, man. Over at Nikon, I think they are aggressively looking at the market going, oh no, we are too far behind. Let's
one of the oldest camera companies.
Light a fire.
Like, let's
give us some cool stuff.
This new cool company, and hopefully it'll change.
I don't know what it is about the Lumix systems and the people that were. I don't know how they made this work, because Panasonic, the cinema side, Vericam is like nothing, right? I don't think they've updated those cameras in probably 5 years. And the Lumix side is like the same company, and everyone always says Panasonic, but it's Lumix. It's separate, but it is Panasonic.
Yeah.
And they've done stuff like with anamorphic, okay, on the GH4. I don't remember what exactly the first Lumix camera was that had anamorphic, but I'm pretty sure it was the GH4. They had anamorphic because, gosh, back then, that was cool. That was cinematic. That was, everyone wanted to shoot anamorphic and do wide. So they're like, cool, we'll give you 4x3 anamorphic. And it was called anamorphic. And even on the GH5, anamorphic. And then we started using it for open gate. Going, we're not going to use an anamorphic lens. We're just going to film the whole sensor and crop it later. That's kind of cool and clever. And then they finally figured it out by the GH6. And so they kept the feature and they realized, well, we shouldn't call this anamorphic because that doesn't really make sense. Let's call it what it is, which is open gate. And it's interesting that features like that come from within a company, with a company within a company makes a feature for one purpose that ends up having the secondary purpose. And it evolves to the point where people have learned and caught on and realized all the stuff they can do. And yet there's still, I don't know how many people, countless people going, what's open gate? What are you doing?
GoPro figured it out.
Why don't you just crop the 16:9?
Nope.
And you go,
Square sensors only.
Help us.
Yeah,
no, and GoPro's figured it out. So that's like another example where this weird feature that kind of sneaks in for one reason becomes another, and then other people start catching on. The Blackmagic cameras do it. I think some of the Sony cameras now do. Does the FX3? We've talked about this before, but I always forget which ones allow you to do open gate versus which ones don't.
I think it does allow you to now film the whole sensor, which we were talking about. The new firmware update for the A7S III allows you now to use the whole sensor, which is a little bit more on the sides for the DCI. So it's
true 4K.
Yeah, true 4K. Which if you're going to be, normal export 4K, you don't need it, but now you have it.
Yeah. Any other predictions for NAB Show 2024?
Hopefully a larger turnout.
More enthusiasm.
Yeah, honestly.
It could be less people, but just more enthusiastic.
It's weird. Just talking about like NAB or conventions in general. I feel like that's, or maybe it's just because of the pandemic and like less people.
Well, that was for a period of time when it was canceled.
Yeah, it was just canceled. And then like trickling back people. But I feel like, like talking about like enthusiasm. But we've also just been to a lot of those kinds of shows before. Not, the NAB show necessarily, but conventions in general. I feel like there's like a lot of people that go to the booths that are like employees, but maybe they're not as passionate as they probably could be. Because like when you're walking around, I don't know, like talking to an audience, maybe if they've been there or not, you can walk past plenty of booths that they're like a small, interesting camera company, but no one's going to stop because maybe the people there aren't necessarily like inviting you in, they might just be like on their phones or whatever. But like a few times that we've gone, like I've seen very cool, interesting products, but only because like I went up to them, but they don't necessarily have like the coolest, display or whatever it is. But there have been like very interesting companies. Of course, I don't remember the names of them, but like the products they had. So there was this one like slider company that
Waterbird.
Was that it?
Yeah.
The slider that like
the
you could manipulate. Like that's all right, cool.
I still remember it. It's like when you talked about interesting companies, I was like, they immediately came to mind.
Right. So like those kinds of companies that have like these very interesting like gadgets, and you're just like, that actually would be good for a product photographer. Like I could think of plenty of uses for like that kind of instrument, right? But you go to NAB and it's just like thousands of companies. Like you don't even realize how many companies are there. But
that is the benefit of going, because those are the companies you don't see online because they don't make big waves. And so if you actually go, you can kind of you're not going to find all of them.
No.
But you can luck your way into finding the kind of diamonds in the rough.
Oh yeah. And there's like I appreciate the people going around and interviewing booths all the time, but like hopefully, I don't know, like vendors, please be more like enthusiastic about the products, because a lot of people are just going to walk right by you. But I don't know, it's worth it to stop and like really talk to a vendor to figure out what they actually have to offer.
Years and years and years ago, before GoPro existed, they were at NAB, and someone I knew came back with this camera, this tiny little square camera, and said, check this out. They called it like a Hero. It's really cool. You can put it anywhere. And it's underwater. You can do all this cool stuff with it. And he got it at NAB. And I want more of that. I want to be able to go to NAB and there's something cool and new that you can actually get.
Yeah.
Not like, oh, this is coming in 6 or 12 months, or this is coming when we finish it, or oh yeah, this is just the show. You can't have that.
Right.
There's plenty of products that are small enough and affordable enough that I would buy on the spot, and they don't have
Yeah.
that option.
I mean, there are opportunities to buy that product there on the show floor. You just usually have to wait until the end of the show. Like, I don't know if you,
No, but no, I want. That's what I'm saying. I want
Yeah.
that to be part of the show.
right, yeah. Well, usually that's like the only version.
I,
Right? Like,
I
that's
know,
it.
I know.
Which
Because they're not going to bring it all. I understand it's a
No.
convention. They don't want to have to
Yeah.
like haul in shipments of stuff.
Yeah.
But
like I've picked up lenses for like cheap. Like we've walked by like manufacturers and they're just like, yeah, like at a discount for sure if you want this. And then it's less for them to pack up, right? So it's, I don't know, it is cool. But yeah, prediction wise, keep going away from this prediction. I don't know. I would love to see, what would I love to see prediction wise? If they come out with the GH7, it's game over, man. Like that's it.
but it depends on the features.
Yeah.
I want to see more 32-bit audio recording.
Really? Okay.
I want there's certain devices that have it, but they're not the all-in-one wireless. I want the wireless solution, but I want it to be able to record, and I want it to be 32-bit because some of them
The float feature, yeah.
and that would be really cool. More like 4-channel kind of stuff, 4-channel audio solutions. I think
Yeah.
are really cool. We've kind of hacked that together with the Lumix systems and some of the options out there. The Comica Vimo Q. You can make it work, but it's still a little. You need extra adapters and the XLR stuff. I want to see that. That someone made a comment on a video I thought would be actually really cool. 2 microphone inputs on a camera instead of just the one 3.5 millimeter.
Yes.
2.
2 would be nice. I've run into this recently, just trying to have like an onboard mic. So is that kind of what you're talking about? Like
Well,
having like a shotgun on your...
Talk about engineers making bad decisions. The Lumix cameras, by default, all of them now can record 4 channels of audio if you have that XLR
Yes.
adapter box. If you plug in a 3.5 millimeter microphone, channels you don't have channels 3 and 4. I'm saying by like just the camera by default, right? No XLR adapter. You just have the
Right.
camera. You plug in a microphone. There are internal microphones.
Your phone.
Whatever. There's internal mics on that camera by default. Why are they not recorded as scratch tracks on channels 3 and 4?
That'd be great.
Then you wouldn't have that problem
No.
of, I need a microphone to be my internal mics. They already exist.
Yeah.
Just give us that, unlock the access. And I've commented on Lumix streams and I've mentioned this a million times and they go, huh? What?
Why?
If you want 4
Why would you
channels, get
want
the
that?
get the XLR adapter. I have it, but I don't want to always have to
If you
use
want
it.
that feature, pick up an FX6. It has that.
Does it?
Yeah.
So you can plug in a microphone and you still keep the
Yeah,
internals.
there's been times where that's actually saved a few productions.
It's
just
so
having that,
smart.
like scratch track. So yeah,
Always have the scratch track. You have the mics. Don't throw them away. I don't know. Maybe it's a limitation of the recording capabilities. I don't know.
yeah,
But think about it. Then if you have the 2 inputs, that's 4 microphones that you can intentionally choose, plus 2 more tracks that could be the internals. I don't know. Just saying. That's a lot of audio tracks. And I find myself in situations where I need more audio.
What other features? If
Square sensors.
square sensors, I like that battery pack. Like the battery pack that you use is cool.
The
I just-
Titan base.
I don't think it's designed
Yes, I agree.
well enough.
I agree.
Yeah,
I
it's
agree.
a good idea. It's a fantastic idea for a battery.
Anton Bauer, if you're listening, Titan base, cool. I love the concept because here's the other thing. There's so many battery bank companies out there. Thousands on Amazon of these Chinese companies making batteries that have the new standard of USB power delivery. Lots of power in the battery banks. None of them have any mounting points anywhere on them.
Yeah.
So you have to like have an arm clamp situation, something to hold the thing. And I love that the Titan base has the 1/4-20 plate in it, and it's at least designed with mounting in mind. I don't care if Anton Bauer makes it. I don't care if some random Chinese company makes it, but some kind of battery with the newer technology, better designed and more well integrated into these types of systems. Mounting points. Give me a way to put the thing on my camera underneath,
Right.
preferably.
And I like my newer stand, like my little base stand, which is great. But what I would like to see is that incorporated with a battery solution. So if I could have that battery solution and then my plate underneath it, or at least that battery with some feet on it. So when I place it down, it's not just sitting on a battery. And I noticed that yours, it has like the D-taps on the side. but they're facing the wrong direction.
Correct. Yep.
So like when you place it down, it's like all lopsided. So it's
Two
just like
face
little
one way,
quirks.
one faces the other way.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's reasons why you'd want them to go different directions.
Right.
Yeah, they become annoying, which is why I switched away from that and went to the USB thing. But now I got to figure out how to do that with power delivery. I'm still waiting on that cable. It's one of those special orders. It takes 2 weeks.
Yeah, which is better than using those like the V-mount options, because yes, there is a way that you can get your whole, I don't know, not that you'd want to use rails in your camera, but for those people who want like an option to have V-mount batteries, you would need to set up a rail system and then have an adapter so you can put that on there. So I just don't want to deal with that. But I like that you found that they had a solution, the Titan base. But
I'm surprised
they
more
just
people
didn't
haven't
refine it.
copied them.
Right.
Like, it seems like a kind of... Anson Bauer's expensive, okay? There's one other company I found that makes anything even close to that, and it's more hideous. It's downstairs. It's taller and bulkier and just...
I haven't seen it.
It's not elegant. Streamline, a slick, like a base plate, like you're talking about, something that can go underneath, support the camera, but provide, 5 times the power from what those internal batteries can hold. And always have the internal. I like it as a backup, as a safety in case something goes wrong. But yeah, I'm surprised more people haven't copied that design.
Yeah, no, it's smart, and I still don't mind swapping like my little batteries, because a lot of the stuff I shoot, it's more convenient to have it lighter weight for me, and I don't usually record more than an hour straight, so there's that. But I am, like every now and then I'm like, it would be nice to never have to swap a battery,
Right.
but it's not perfect yet.
No, and the other added benefit is the monitor power. Because you have to run 2 different sets of batteries,
Right.
which that also irritated me. I don't want to have to carry Lumix batteries and those Sony batteries to power the monitor. I want the battery all in one that can power the camera, the monitor. It's one thing to charge. It's extra juice, and it keeps it all going basically all day. And I'm surprised that that's basically the only product that offers that solution.
Yeah. It's, I don't know.
And then it makes me feel like I'm the crazy one. Am I the only person on planet Earth that wants to do this?
I don't know anyone else who uses those. I've never seen them in the
I know.
wild.
They're crazy.
And
But they're so helpful. I love it. There's what was it? Reminds me back in the day, the Tascam DR60
yeah.
with the quarter 20 on the top and the quarter 20 on the bottom, and the intent of like, oh, you put this under the camera. I'm like, yeah, that's good in theory, but it was so top heavy.
Yes.
And they finally fixed it. They made a quick adjustment with the DR70. Much better solution.
Are you talking about like the large, flatter one?
The much flatter one, because we had the DR60 for the longest time, and the camera was so top heavy it would just flex and tilt, and even with a tiny like GH4 or GH5. So they fixed that, and I've always liked those Tascam products, but don't have as much of a use for them these days.
They do make a Tascam that goes up like on the hot shoe. So there are those like XLR adapters, and there is a Tascam version, but of course the Tascam version has a battery that you have to put in. So like that's the fault. But it works with many different camera systems. So like when I was looking into getting a solution for that, I ended up just going with the Panasonic one, because it made the most sense, right? So, and it works flawlessly. It's great, fantastic, powered by the hot shoe and everything. It's great. But if I'm looking at Sony and I'm like, oh god, I gotta get another one for my like A7S3s, whatever.
Yeah, you just want the one that works for all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So.
all the random bits and bobs we buy. Well, we'll see. Hopefully we can go to NAB Show. I don't know. We'll see if the timing and everything works out. It's not too far out of the question.
Another live stream. The whole thing live
could.
stream.
We could.
Like we did.
I've got I've got.
Was that on this channel?
Yeah.
Can you go back?
Yeah,
Oh, man.
yeah.
It's like a time machine.
Can go watch them. But yeah, we'll maybe do something like that if we're there. If not, we'll just read all the news at home like everyone else, and that's fine too. It's easier.
And we'll make content like this.
Do we do
drop
a live stream from here?
That would actually be really cool.
We could just read the news all day.
I wonder.
Okay.
If anyone's going to NAB, comment down below.
Oh.
Send us photos. Get us some.
No,
recon.
we're gonna get them on the live stream because I can hook that up.
that'd be
They
even
can
better.
call in.
Oh, that
could
would
do
be
a live-
sweet.
Yeah, it would be
Remember
sweet.
what people were doing when we were live streaming? They were like, "Hey, can you go to the the Canon booth?" Okay, on our way. And we'd go over there and be like, "Oh!" So it was like an interactive live stream, and then that was really cool.
Yeah.
Now we could be on the other side.
Yeah.
That we could be in the driver's seat. All right, now go to the Sigma booth.
We'll do something fun.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. Whether it's here or it's there or something in between.
Nice.
We'll have a good time and hopefully get some good news this year. Amp up that enthusiasm. Last year was a little dull.
Lackluster.
Not so this year. I'm hopeful. I'm
No.
going to keep my fingers crossed. Say, this is the year.